Why, hello there, Niceto here. I hope this video finds you very well, and I thank you for tuning in. What are we looking at today? We're looking at this. Have you seen this knife? Have you heard of this knife? I mean, I've done one other Rapax knife. Rapax is the brand. I did the, oh, here it is. I did the Rapax Buddy review and stuff on the channel. This is the Rapax Mini. I have another Rapax knife that I have to do a review on too. So, yeah, this is a budget brand. Kind of lesser known, certainly not big names. However, they are doing some interesting things, and so far, I have been very happy with them. So, too long didn't read, or too long didn't watch in this particular case. This is a pretty good knife, actually. I've liked the stuff from Rapax, and they're definitely something to keep an eye on. There's going to be, this is the full review, so there will be, timestamps down below. Thank you for thinking of words, brain. But there will be timestamps down below. You can skip around if you care to. So if you want to just jump to the talking about portion, that's fair too. I've already sort of given away the lead. It's actually good. It's quite good. I've enjoyed this one. Let us get into specs so that we can then actually talk about this. You have about 3 1/8, maybe just shy of 3 1/8. I'm going to call that like 3.1 inches of blade. The handle actually stops at 7 inches on the dot. There is a lanyard tube there that stops at 7 1/4. So you have just shy of 4 inches on the handle and just shy of 4 1/4 because you have just a little bit over 3 inches of actual blade. So very decently 7-inch kind of overall size knife. Oh, there's some junk on there. I didn't realize that I need to clean that off. Whoopsies. Resident, Small, Civivi, Elementum, and Conspirator for full-size comparisons coming up. As you can see, this is definitely a small knife. Unequivocally small. It may actually be a tiny bit shorter than the Elementum, though it does have a tiny bit more blade on it. Though not necessarily usable blade because of that big choyo there, but it is there. Grip length comparison for the very pill-shaped handle that we've got here. To 2 AA batteries, and you have just about almost 2 AA batteries on the dot for actual grip length. I mean, you may not want to wrap around here, in which case you have like 1 3/4, maybe a little bit more, but you could totally survive down here. Where is the isopropyl alcohol that I'm going to use to clean off this blade because it is now bothering me? But the grip length, yeah, I don't think you're actually going to have trouble getting your hands on this small knife in the terms of holding on to it and stuff. That takes it right off. Just some nice, well, this is 99% isopropyl alcohol, but rubbing alcohol pretty much. Where were we? Talking about this knife, or I should say specs. Let's pull out the scale for the weight of the Mini here. I always have trouble with the lighting. 2.69 ounces on the actual weight of this knife, so you're getting a good over an ounce an inch, which or under an ounce an inch, which, yeah, if you care about ratios or want something super light, this is super light, despite the fact that the steel liners in this are actually pretty darn thick. It does have some skeletonization, but I guess it's just, and it's got like a big tab here and a button. It's impressive that they've kept it so light, but I guess it's just because the dimensions are so small that it doesn't add up. Either way, that's not something to complain about. T8 pivot, T6 on the pocket clips, unfortunately, and body screw. Wait. No, that's T8. Okay, so you actually, since it's not reversible, which is a little bit of unfortunate that it's not reversible, but at the same time, I kind of understand why. They would have to mill another thing, and it could throw off the aesthetic a little bit of this very clean presentation. But It is a top liner lock. It is a liner lock, not a button lock. And the top liner lock does lend itself to being pretty ambidextrous, though on such a small knife... No, I can get my hand in there without pressing that button. I do feel the button, but I don't feel like I'm going to press it. So it could be used for left-handed people, but yeah, they didn't give you a left-handed carry option for this clip, which is unfortunate, but also not the end of the world on this one. There are plenty of ones out there. In fact, I think Rapax makes, like, the other Rapax I have, both of them, I believe, have, yeah, positions for left-handed carry. I was just checking over there. This one does not, which is unfortunate, because it's just kind of a neat little knife, but is what it is. Can't do anything about that. Now, the final spec. Thicknesses. I'm going to say that's zeroed out. 525 thousandths, so over half an inch, but it is heavily contoured. With the clip, it's probably going to be decently thick, actually. About 700 thousandths of an inch, with a 110 thousandths blade stock, and behind the edge is probably going to be pretty reasonably thin. It, I believe, has a hollow grind on it, which I will double check in a second. Not super thin, 17 thousandths, pretty sort of good medium, but it does have a hollow grind on it. It just doesn't have a lot of room to drop. So it's like, they were smart putting the hollow grind on there, because otherwise it could get thicker too fast. This way they're giving you a little bit more life by keeping it a little bit thinner as it goes up for the blade. It does have a little bit more thickness out at the tip for some strength, but I think they made the right call on the way they ground this thing, so good job on that. That is the end of our specs. Yes, I believe it is. So let's just talk about this thing. What do we got as a good intermediate or segue between this two? We can talk about the steel and the materials. This is VG10 blade steel. You can see it right there, including the name for some reason. I don't necessarily care to see that, but they've also kept it small, so who cares? This comes with micarta scales. It's not like super ultra high quality micarta, but it's not like bottom of the barrel cheap micarta. It's kind of comparable to what you'd see from some of the earlier like Civivi micartas. So it's not bad, but it's not great. It is a little bit ragged at the edges. Nothing special, but at the same time, it is soft. It is not causing any problems. There's no hot spots. Yeah, it's fine. Especially for the price, which is pretty low, which we will talk about once we get there. But blade is a sort of a modified sheep's foot blade. There is another knife that is basically the same knife with a different blade shape. It is the Kiki. This is the Me. That knife just basically is a pointy Wharncliffe. It doesn't have the tip is maybe a little bit higher, but it gets thinner up here, and it comes to a point. So instead, maybe it's not even a Wharncliffe. I don't know what that'd be. Yeah, I guess that's a Wharncliffe. Yeah. So you have two variants. They cost the same amount. Whatever. Definitely still budget knives. Definitely still should be exactly the same. I went with this one because I think it balanced out with the handle a little bit more than a even thinner tip up here. Not a huge blade, but nothing. Not unreasonable small. The plunge grind is amazing. That is how you do a plunge grind, people. That drops down right there. You will never have to sharpen this, increase the plunge on this thing, because you have so much room. Yes, they gave you a big old plunge here. Kind of gives it a straight razor vibe going on. And the stop pins are even up here attached to the blade itself. That is a lot of oil on the back end there. There we go. Didn't change anything. I don't know why that oil's there, but whatever. I have carried and used this thing. I guess the oil's just sort of come out from the inside. I haven't taken this one apart, so maybe it's got a decent amount of oil still in there. Whatever. But where was I? Plunge grind. Plunge grind is great. Yes, it takes up some of your edge, which is not, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, you can kind of like rotate around here without feeling like you're going to go completely into the edge and get real close there for some finer work. It hasn't caused any problems. Decent draw cuts, whole thing. They did put a nail neck in the blade if you want to two-hand open it. I guess it's just because they were going with this sort of like old school Swiss Army aesthetic in just shape. I don't use it. I use this flipper tab, which is not really, really minimal, sleek, keeps in line with the handle. Attached down here, got, it is circular, and weirdly enough, if you've never had a knife with a circular flipper tab, in my opinion, they make like the perfect flipper tabs. You wouldn't think so, but the circular flipper tab is just somehow, especially when they've got jimping on it that's actually good, and this is good jimping. Fine jimping. In fact, I wish they could put this jimping on the back of the spine too. It would be even better, but these circular flipper tabs just catch at the right angle where they never put too much pressure, and they work really well. And this has a good detent on it. You can sort of hear that it snaps out there pretty good. So, easy actuation with that, though you do have the, the two-handed pull-out just in case you want to seem less threatening. Oh, here, let me get my knife out. Yeah, see, not threatening at all. This is terrifying right there. Terrifying. Horrifying, in fact. Yeah, sure, whatever. Rapax logo and the name, small, kept clean. The jimping on here is not the best. Like I said, I really wish they'd use the jimping from like they can do the perfect jimping. Why not put it here? It doesn't really do much. It's just kind of a little bit of texture. It lets you know where you are. It's not uncomfortable, but it's not like perfect either. Honestly, they probably could have just left it straight without jimping on it if they were just going to do this, but whatever. They tried something, it didn't work. The edge is actually reasonably sharp. Nothing super crazy, but for a budget knife, it's not bad, and it's pretty evenly ground from. Yeah, the edge is pretty even from side to side. Let's just stop fumbling over those words. The flipper tab also folds into the handle really nicely, so it completely disappears in the open position, which is always a nice thing to have for a flipper tab knife. Usually they stick out. I already talked about the micarta being okay. It does come in a couple different colors for both variants. It's got a very small chamfer added on to being around the heavy-duty contouring, which, I mean, you can see how thick and much contouring is actually going on here. Focus. There we go. And it makes it very, very comfortable. There's no hard edges on the handle at all. Even down here, it's like you think that would catch you. Realistically, yeah, you could be caught by this inner liner, but you don't, really. So, it works. It works well. Now, you could say the button is in a little bit of a precarious position just because of it, but however, I find that there's more than a few positions where you can get on this knife that even if you do feel like if you're going to press the button, you can kind of avoid it, right? In multiple different positions and areas. So it's not a problem. It just stands out pretty tall, but I have not disengaged this knife at all. It is, in my opinion, the superior kind of top liner lock. And what do I mean by that? There are two kinds of top liner locks that I've experienced, and that is one where the tang is, perpendicular to the blade, runs perpendicular, like a standard liner lock. Basically, the liner flicks over here and pushes against the tang here. The other kind of top liner lock that I'm talking about is, where is it? Come on. There you go. The other kind is where the liner actually sits on top. Yeah, very much so a top liner lock. On top of the tang. So the tang sort of runs at the same angle as the blade, and the liner pops out and sits there. Now, that could arguably, or almost certainly, make for a stronger lockup, right? You have actual material in the way of this thing moving instead of stopping it from, moving on an angle. You have something directly pressing on that. This probably makes for a stronger lock. However, in my experience, almost all of these top liner locks that have this angle of lock have some button stick. Don't know why, but they pretty much all do. That goes for the Vostides that do it. That goes for the Kaisers that do it. And I think I had another knife that did it. The ones that do the standard sort of liner lock setup pretty much never have any sort of actual stick. This Migron here, same deal. This is an actual just full liner with a button attached. No problem whatsoever, no stick. Don't know why. Maybe it's just something about that, but it's been too consistent for me to not notice the pattern, so I figured I'd mention it. Honestly, there's not much else to talk about on the handle. It's pill-shaped. It's minimal, it's clean, it's small. You can actually get your hands on it. Woohoo. Pretty decently thick steel liners. Pretty decently thick lock bar, actually. In fact, you can see it in there. No complaints considering how light they kept it. I think this is G10 as a backspacer and the lanyard hole for those who care. Yeah, it sticks off the back end, which is kind of weird, but at the same time, is it the biggest deal in the world? No, you can probably cut it off, or you may even be able to take it out if you take the entire thing apart. I haven't checked. So, you definitely have some options to get rid of that, either way. The clip is inset. As I said, it's not reversible, but it is inset with flat screws. It's not the perfect clip. I do not mind them having their logo on the clip, because it just says Rapax. They could probably just get away with the little alligator face and just do that. Would be nicer. It is cut through, so it does give the clip, it alleviates some tension for a relatively short clip. Though, even on a small, even with a relatively short clip on a small knife like this, it does go up the handle pretty far, but that's not a huge clip. There is a lot of flat at the end. I haven't actually had too much trouble getting it in and out of my pockets, but, I mean, the flat is always something that I kind of wish wasn't there. However, it is also a pretty darn comfortable clip. You can feel it, but it's not like it's bad in any way. No hot spots or anything like that. Honestly, this is just a really nice and uniquely styled, or slightly uniquely styled, sort of out-of-the-box, small knife. And I've really liked this. As I said in the beginning, yeah, these Rapax they're not like, oh my god, they're amazingly made. They're decent to adequate to perfectly reasonable for the budget territory they're in. This is a $47 knife, I believe. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. This is totally worth checking out at that price point. This is a good little knife that if you just want something that's functional, small, but slim, keeps a nice, simple profile. There's a lot of... I'm trying to get something off it. Yeah! Whatever. There's a lot to like here. I've been impressed with Rapax, and this is recommendable. This is a good one. Very good detent, very good snappiness. Yeah, some of their fit and finish is a little bit wonky. It's a little, like, dirty in there, maybe. Probably could use a clean out. But the actual fit and... not the fit and finish. I guess just the finishing on the things that you don't even interact with is a little bit lower end, but it's perfectly reasonable for the budget territory these things are at. This is a good knife. I like it. I've enjoyed it. And, yeah. I think that's everything from me. I'm going to end things here and say thank you very, very much for watching. Have a great day. There will be some videos popping up if you would care to check on some other stuff on the channel. I'm sure that helps. More watch time, more watch hours for me, and like and subscribe. All that helps the channel grow. And hopefully I will continue to grow and maybe get better at doing some of this talking. Even though I don't have a script or anything. I don't have a plan even. I come in to the room, I grab a knife, that I've carried and used for a little bit to review in the review pile, which is actually over here. The summary pile's over there. And I literally just grab one to check out, look up a few facts about it, to confirm a few things, price and everything like that, and go off that. It is flying by the seat of my pants, so hopefully the candor and the pattern and the fact that I say probably too much is not too bad, but hopefully I will continue to improve as the channel grows. and hopefully the channel will continue to improve as well. If you want to support me on that, I appreciate it. If not, that's fine too. I certainly can't force you to do anything, and you have every right to say, I don't like this guy, never watch me again. That's fine too. Yeah, perfectly reasonable. If that is the case, do consider leaving a statement down below in the comments as to why I would like to know, and that would help me maybe improve. Other than that, I'm done. See you later. Have a great one.